Hey, what's up, deal makers? We just wrapped up Ask Alex number 98 webinar. We covered a lot of valuable information in a market of uncertainty. Now, Alex, what were some of your takeaways and some of the knowledge that we dropped?
Yeah, so it's getting much more difficult right now with these rising interest rates, how to get deals, how to look at deals. So we went into granular detail on how to look at deals right now, the framework and what we're doing, and then also some of the things that we're completely avoiding and not doing. So to learn, go ahead and check out the webinar. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Let's go. What's up? What's up, deal makers? Aloha from Baja California. I'm in La Paz. We're going to have my man Eliam join us very soon. Will, our dedicated, amazing co-host, had some things come up. And so we're going to get this young deal maker in the mix here. And we're going to talk about what we're doing to analyze current market conditions and still buy amazing rentals, flips, everything that we do. Right, man? How you doing, Eliam? Can you hear me?
How's it going? How's it going, deal makers? Happy to join in as the co-host for today's webinar. Yeah, we're going to talk about current market conditions, whether a property is a good real estate deal or not, and kind of give you some updates on what we got mixing up here. How's the weather down there in California, Alex? I know you're in Baja California now. You're everywhere.
Yeah, man. Well, one of my good friends that I know that is a huge investor over in the Inland Empire, he told me about this fishing trip about 2 months ago, and he kind of twisted my arm a little bit. I've been wanting to go to La Paz, which is a little bit northeast for that. Those who don't know of Cabo San Lucas.
Cabo. Okay.
Yeah, Baja California. And so, yeah, man, it just kind of developed. It just popped up on my calendar. I was like, oh, shoot, it's next week. But got down here, took a red eye out of LA because I was in a mastermind that also kind of just popped up in Hollywood. So I think all this pent up demand from stuff not happening during COVID, all these events and people wanting to go and do stuff, you're starting to see a lot of that, because even here, I asked them, asked the Uber driver or the taxi driver, how long has it been since you guys lifted the restrictions with the face masks and everything? He's like, oh, it's only been about a month. So they've still been dealing with it, because I remember going to Mexico often, even on the plane, I still had to wear the face mask. So now it's really starting to feel like it's finally over, or getting on to the next chapter, right?
So just a month ago, they lifted all the restrictions. So now you got a bunch of tourists coming in and a lot of attraction going in, and businesses are picking up again. And so you seem like you had a productive week. I mean, you said you had all these last minute plans coming up. You said you attended a mastermind, and it was kind of more of like a speakeasy kind of theme going on. How was that?
Yeah, man, it was incredible. So as you know, one of my roles within our company and what I do is continue to grow the deep relationships with mentors, people that are doing other things, other entrepreneurs. And I seen this guy speak at our Maui mastermind, a real estate investor mastermind, about 2.5 years ago. I've been to several, but it was the second or the third one they had, and his name is Steve Sims. He's one of those type of guys that can make magical things happen that you would never expect. Like if you wanted to have lunch at the Vatican or some crazy thing like that. And so he makes big things happen. He wrote a new book. He was having this mastermind. It popped up. Brandon Turner, one of my closest mentors, he was going to fly in and speak. And then Brittany, one of my other really cool real estate influencer friends, with the 250,000, followers on Instagram. She's a cool one. And she was going to be there. So it was just an easy decision to say, hey, I'll go for this 2 days. And what I really enjoyed about it, I'll give you guys a couple quick takeaways is, I talked about a little bit on my Instagram, but there was an interview with one of the entrepreneurs there. And I mean, she spoke so deeply about branding, because if for example, Apple and all these other really big brands, they focus on every little detail of how their brand is perceived, on every minute detail. And I think there's a lot of value to thinking that way, even when you're getting started out, because your reputation, what you stand for, what people think about when they think about you, whether you sell a service, a product, or something like that, is critical to long-term success. And so she talked deeply about that and how to look at things. And I'm definitely going to read her book. And then there's this guy that spoke about crypto, but he spoke about, I heard people speak about crypto, but I've never heard anybody speak as kind of you remind me of like Elon Musk in some ways of just kind of he's trying to simplify a very, very complex subject, which is the NFTs, crypto that are not going away. I have a little investment in crypto and NFTs, but not much. But I'm still interested in learning more, and so that was a powerful speaker. And then just there was 50 people there, so I think there was only about 5 or 6 people that I met out of those 50 people that were more real estate focused or mortgage or real estate or mortgage or something within that focus. Everybody else was doing something completely different, from Google, master Google advertisers and marketers, to people that worked in artificial intelligence. Another guy worked in robotics. I had a robotics startup. I mean, some very intelligent people. And so I felt like I got tremendous value in a short amount of time. It was only 2 days, but it was all blitzed out. And I mean, mind you, the real difficult thing about some of this, attending some of these events, especially on a regular basis, and flipping that scale and doing a lot of what we do, is that we still have to get a lot of other outside work done, and it's harder to do when I'm involved in these meetings. But then I was actually doing the math a little bit. I'll just share this last, and we can continue what we're gonna talk about. But I was thinking about, like, the mastermind cost me $2,000, and not much more than that because it's just a couple Uber rides. And I mean, I'm very confident that I walked away with at least 10 pieces of just solid advice or knowledge or something that I could use that would really help me out. And then another 10 relationships, contacts, people that I met that I feel like I could continue to talk to and learn from. That's like 20 pieces of value, right? And so if it was $2,000, that's like $100 for golden pieces of value. So I think that was a fantastic ROI. So yeah, man, and a bunch of other stuff happening too. We sold one of our flips in Compton that frankly was taking fucking forever. Excuse my language to sell. We got that one off the books and paid off our private lender, and he was super happy because they made like $20,000 in interest, even though it took like an extra month and a half. Well, we always make sure that all of our private lenders are happy. And then we also have started to rent out the Maui house over there in Maui, to some people and that are wanting to go experience the magical place of Hawaii with Maui. So yeah, man. I don't know what else. 18 units also. Last thing, I guess, the 18 unit is making tremendous progress. I mean, we're flying through that rehab, and I think we'll get that done by the end of the year. And then you're working hand in hand with Will in revamping the acquisitions department, right? And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we are. So we have been working on the acquisition. No, thank you for sharing your wins. It's been a lot of progress that you've been doing these past things. Whether it's a speakeasy mastermind, it was like 5 minutes away from your Hollywood house headquarters, building these bigger relationships, always learning and always seeking growth, which is really important. We tend to just surround ourselves with just real estate investors and real estate people, but it's also important to also be aware that there's other businesses in the world. And we can always learn from other business owners, and you encounter many other business owners in tech, other different services and products as well. But as far as the kind of the company, I mean, we and Will, we're going hand in hand on building the acquisitions department because we want to start marketing more heavy in the markets that we're doubling down. One of them being, core Los Angeles and Antelope Valley. But the thing is, when doubling down on markets, we need to have more manpower, more support in order to take care of these leads, prospect, leads, generate new leads, close deals and stuff. Me and Will, we can't do it all at once. It usually takes a team effort for us to do this. And an important piece of a piece of this domino, this puzzle, is getting these headquarters done in Hollywood, getting these headquarters done in Antelope Valley and even Hawthorne as well, as we can use it as a home base for where when going on appointments, we go back to, our headquarters, our office / living spaces, and kind of recharge, analyze our deals, and get back on that field. And it kind of keeps us more focused and more energized. So that's kind of what we got going on in acquisitions, as well as hiring for more positions. We're always increasing our virtual assistant staff to support on the admin stuff. As much as there's internal work, there's also external work, and improving our onboarding process. Our onboarding process will be the crucial part on how we transition our new team members and help them grow and help them succeed within our company.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things in a startup is that you need to focus on having systems in place and also the right people. And so we've had to revamp the acquisitions department because the buying has become more difficult. Even though it is swinging to more of a buyer's market, it doesn't mean that it makes getting deals easier. And we've been noticing difficulty, obviously on the acquisition side, because we've only bought, I think, one house in the last 60 days when we're typically buying 2 or 3 houses every single month. So that tells you right now that, hey, we're not able to see the same amount of the same discount, or the discount needed to adjust for the risk that is now, and it's greater than it was in the past with the market is right now. But I'm confident that with these new acquisitions beasts that you guys are training and that you and Will are working with, they're gonna hit the phones, hit the streets, hit the computers, all that, to make offers and to get us back into where we want to focus on, which is, like you said, certain parts of Southern California, because ultimately this slowdown has made us have to adjust. Like with anything, I mean, you're like, think about sports, for example. You're playoff, highly competitive game. Well, you might not be winning in halftime, but you can make adjustments so that way later on you can go back and win. And that's what we're seeing. We were not making any money, or breaking even, or losing a little money on a couple of properties in the Joshua Tree area. But I mean, that's just part of the game.
Exactly. These are learning lessons.
Yeah, because then it helps us refocus on the properties, the areas, the type of projects that make the most sense for us in this current environment. And if we have to buy less, that's fine, because we're gonna get a deeper discount with more potential upside for that. So I think we're talking a lot about that today, like more of like the mindset or the approach to how to look at deals right now, because I think it's really uncertain, and it is for all of us. But I'm listening to very smart people, and then we're letting the numbers speak for themselves, and not being convinced that, oh, this could have been a deal 2-3 months ago, but in this environment, just not really worth the risk.
Exactly.
Right,
We gotta adopt that mindset of, we're not in the market 6 months ago. It's not 3 months ago when the market was different. I feel like we get caught up living in the past on how the market was doing 3 months ago, but we're forgetting that we need to adapt to what the new market is telling us now. What are the data points telling us now? And I like how you mentioned that this is more like a sports, right? Where we're doubling down on what works, and we're getting rid of what doesn't work, and re-strategizing and replacing what doesn't work. And that's kind of what we're doing in acquisitions as well. We're treating it like a sport. We're doubling down on what works, getting rid of what didn't work, because it's not worth our time anymore. And as well, I mean, like you said, we've only bought in one house in the past 60 days. Now, don't get confused. We're not those buyers who are just not buying properties anymore. We're still pumping out offers every day. We're still looking, we're prospecting for new leads. We're still connecting with agents, wholesalers, and even homeowners. It's just that it's hard to make a deal come about with them, because a lot of them are still backtracked and still stuck in the market 3 months ago. But we're starting to see some more progress now with some of these prospects coming to realization.
What I've seen lately is these wholesalers have been sending us deals, and they are getting a little bit better deals, but they're not where they need to be. And so I mean, I think it's just as hard for people that predominantly flip, and it's just as hard for wholesalers, because the amount that you need to get the price at right now, the contract at, it seems like a no-brainer to do a deal at that price. But the sellers are resistant right now. They still want prices from a couple months ago. But ultimately, like I said, getting the team trained, I mean, how many applicants did we have for the acquisitions role? How many people did we end up interviewing and talking to?
I think we had well over a dozen actually interested applicants that we gave all an opportunity to do an interview with. We were looking more of a full-time role.
No, those are the people that made the second cut, but we had actually over 60 people apply.
Okay,
and then
gotcha, yeah.
The people that made the final cut was about like a dozen, and then we ended up hiring 2 people. So that's just how it is. You have to look at a lot of people to find the right fit, to find the right seller, to find the right acquisition manager, to find the right admin, whatever that is, to grow what you're doing. So yeah.
Exactly, filtering out. But no, that's kind of the company updates that we have kind of going on and working on. The major one we have is an announcement. Actually, we're hosting our last free downtown LA real estate investor meetup for the year on November 17th. We have plenty of the details in our Facebook group, so definitely join our Facebook group and RSVP for that event. Like always, we'll have surprises, cash bar, and a bunch of nuggets and knowledge that will be shared, and networking opportunities as well.
Exactly. And if you guys know anybody that maybe you can't make it, but you know somebody that could benefit from being in this environment, whether they're starting out or they've already done some deals and they need to expand their network even more, or get some more contractors, or get some more vendors, or like you're advanced investor and your buying criteria could be different from ours, and you could find some deals there. We've seen a lot of people do business at the meetups that we host, and we've also done business. So obviously we're hosting the meetup selfishly in some ways, but knowing that we're creating something that is very special to us because it's a community, especially in Southern California. Nothing against LA, man, but it just is environment. Sometimes people keep things close to the vest. They're not collaborative. I'm not saying it's not to give all your secrets away. That's not what I'm saying. But in this environment, you have to collaborate even more because things are getting even more difficult. And what I noticed, especially last week when we were funding a couple of we had some private lender opportunities that we were kind of exploring. We don't really raise capital unless we really do see some opportunities that we do right now. And then yeah, just a lot of people kind of backing out or just like unsure about the market or fearful. And I totally get it. But I was thinking in my head, if it's this difficult for us, and we have a brand, we have traction, we have revenue, we have we're flipping like 11 properties, 10 properties right now, 90% of which are profitable. So how hard is it for other people that are just getting started or just don't have as many as much resources or as big as network as we do? It's a dogfight out there. It's difficult. So we're trying to help everybody we can out, because I think only the strong will survive, the connected will survive here in this environment. I think it's going to be very difficult for the next 4 to 6 months at the minimum. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going in with the expectation that things are going to be difficult. So we know things are going to be difficult. So we, instead of worrying about how difficult things are, we're worrying about things we control and how we can get better. But no, this is an awesome time how we could help you guys determining whether a property is a good real estate deal in today's market. And we would like to walk you guys through our framework that we're adopting, and we continue to improve as well. So kind of the first thing we do, and kind of, get your feedback on this, Alex, right here, is the first thing we did was we determined and defined what our buy box criteria is. And if you'd like to share kind of what our buy box criteria is right now, Alex.
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of talk about not only the exact focus and strategy, but also why we've kind of transitioned to doing more of that type of business model. So we don't wholesale that often because wholesaling involves more of like direct to sell marketing, and that also whatever you get, that's a potential investment deal, ends up you just wholesale that, right? You get a condo in Costa Mesa, you're going to try to wholesale that. You get a large property in the middle of Lancaster, you're going to wholesale that. That's not our business model. We're looking more for a specific type of a single family, typically cosmetic, entry level property to fix and flip within, just a short amount of time. We're not doing any additions. We're not doing ADUs. I mean, we are doing an ADU property right now, but that's a property we're going to keep, and it's more of the headquarters in Palmdale, Lancaster, that we're keeping over there. So we're not, that's a long-term hold. But we know that we're willing to buy anything around the medium price point for core Los Angeles, Antelope Valley, the IE. But we really focus right now more on the Antelope Valley, Palmdale, Lancaster, simply because we've seen we can buy cash flowing properties out there, single family houses, and we can flip out there. And it does take less cash because the prices that we're purchasing are 150 to 250 typically. And so there's less cash needed. And then we're also seeing that it's a market that has just underserved by the investor community, and we'll just say it like that. I mean, if you're a cool kid, you're a talented hustler type, or somebody that's a very entrepreneur driven, somebody that wants to be in the in demand areas of Los Angeles, you're not going to be in Palmdale, Lancaster. Like, no offense to anybody there, right? You're going to be in the west side of LA. You're going to be in certain cool parts like Venice and the beach cities, Hollywood, or downtown LA or something cool. You're not going to want to typically be in Palmdale, Lancaster, which is more of the desert part, big homes. And so, anyways, we just over time, especially the last year, we've seen that this is a market that has performed the best. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel or try to get fancy or anything like that, or try to jump in. And we kind of in some ways did that. I'll be right up here. We got 28 people on the call. We did kind of get a little shiny object syndrome and buy a couple properties in like 29 Palms and Yucca Valley that we probably shouldn't have bought, because they didn't really fit into our core strategy, and now they've taken bandwidth and time, and they're not going to make any money. So that it stings a little bit. It hurts because we know that if we put all this time, energy, resource, money to this thing, then we said no to other things that would have definitely made us money.
Would
So
have made
those
more
are,
sense.
yeah, exactly. So it's not the mistakes that matter, because everybody's made mistakes, and you just want to try to minimize the losses and then learn from the things that don't go according to plan, and then that way we can get better. And so that's what we're doing with our change of focus. And I'm grateful because I'm back in LA. Not right now currently physically, but now home base is in Lancaster and Hollywood, and that's where we're moving forward with that strategy. And then it also is something that we've seen that over time we're going to be able to compound and have a good, healthy cash flowing rental portfolio out there too. We already have, I think, 4 rentals out there, and we're going to add the ADU to the other one. And then we've seen some other stuff, some duplexes come up here and there, some other small multifamily that we'd keep. And Section 8 does well out there too. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, we're just bullish out there, and send us all your stuff out there. Cheers to that.
Exactly. No, I thank you for expanding on what our buy box criteria is, right? We said like those Joshua Tree areas, those properties are further away from our home base now. We're not really taking down those projects. For example, on the acquisition side now, is that I have my buy box. So if I get a lead from maybe like San Diego, I won't give it as much attention as if I would if I get a lead in Palmdale, California. And that's how we're kind of determining if a property is a good deal for our real estate investment company, right? Hey, it's in San Diego. Cool. I need it at this number. If you can't get me at this number, then it's not really worth my time. But if you bring me a lead from Palmdale, well, I'm gonna be all over it. I'm gonna give it as much attention as possible because that's our market and that's our backyard. But
Yep.
once we kind of have this dialed in, a lead comes in and matches our buy box criteria. What's something we do next, Alex? What's the next step that we have to do to determine if it's a good deal?
Well, first of all, it needs to fit your buy box. I think we talked enough about how specific to get on that. We have ours, so I figure yours out too. And then the next thing is really we're trying to figure out a 5 piece of information that show us, the quality of the lead, let's say, right, which is the motivation of the seller, or the motivation of the agent selling the property to us, or the wholesaler, right, selling and presenting the opportunity. We're looking for the price. It needs to be in line with the range, at least where we need to be at for us to pursue it, to give it any real attention. The timeline. I had this deal sent to me literally yesterday on my Instagram, and the guy's like, "Yeah, dude, but we gotta close in 6 days." I was like, "Bro, like, you're telling me this is like a board up property. This is kind of a good deal. It's a kind of hairy deal because of the I think there's some like liens on it and stuff like that. There's no way we're gonna be able to close in 6 days. Like, I could probably close in about 10 days, but just that it's just not a good fit." And he's just like, "Oh, I only got a couple days. I've been trying to move it." I'm like, "Okay, well, you're coming to me last minute. I'm interested in the deal, but I'm not gonna stop, drop, and roll for you right now and then go look at this deal because I'm not going to be able to close in 6 days. Like, it's just, I don't want to close a property like that that's been vacant for 5 years and 6 days. I mean, it's built in 1928. Like, I mean, that's almost 100-year-old property, really neglected. And stuff like that typically also involves full city involvement, where you're having to pull permits and all that all the way through, and clean up a real ugly mess. And to do that in 6 days, like, this didn't fit my timeline criteria, right? Next is like the condition. So really just we'll consider heavier rehabs, but again, they take so much more bandwidth. And we've talked about this, and it's worth repeating. If it's a lot more likely for a $80,000 potential rehab to go to 120 than it is for a $50,000 rehab to go to 70. And so, I mean, that's the way we approach things, because we've seen that the ones that are heavy rehabs, we're not contractor expert investors. We're just, average people on the contract side, to be honest. We're great at finding deals and, also developing relationships to get the money and whatnot. But when it comes to contracting, I would not say that's the overall strength of our business model. Maybe for you, it isn't the problem, but you have trouble with the acquisitions. Well, then you're constantly gonna have to, fight hard to have someone strong on your team in acquisitions, because, you lack that side. But in any event, we're not taking on heavy rehabs. And if we do see a property that fits our criteria with heavy rehab, we have a number for it, but it's definitely a lot more, even more conservative than the conservative number that we already have out there right now because of the market conditions. And then, now we have a better assessment of, okay, is this in our buy box? Okay, is it, what's going on with the overall motivation, price, time, and condition? And then kind of where do we go from there?
Exactly, exactly. No, that's a valid point. You bring the timeline is important. That hairy deal that we're not going to be able to fund in time. They should have probably brought that lead to us a long time ago. Before, I mean, it takes us 1 to 2 days to just do our due diligence, and analyzing the deal, trying to negotiate, and going to go walk the property, and then another, 8 to 10 days on funding the deal. So stuff like this, like meeting our 5 pieces of information: motivation, condition, price, and timeline, is crucial and important because it helps to determine what's next and how we can actually help the seller out or the prospect out in pursuing a good deal.
Yeah,
So
and you remember the Matrix, the movie The Matrix? You know
yeah, I
how
remember.
it is say Neo and he's just like looking and you can see all the numbers. That's kind of how it is with your investor, man. You gotta see all the numbers, get all the data points, get and find out like if it's something that really kind of fits. And then that way you jump on it when you see something. I remember the Hollywood property that I have on one of our acquisitions managers sent that over, and all I had to do is see the zip code and see the price and look at the pictures, and that's all I needed. And I said, buy that house immediately. Where do I send the EMD? So I think it's just knowing that information. Okay, it hits everything. Move forward. Like don't hesitate. But you probably have to look through a lot of look a lot under a lot of rocks right now to find that golden piece right now
That
because
gold, that gold, that
yeah,
golden unicorn of a
it's there.
deal, right?
It's there though. It's there, man. People are stressed out. They're fearful. So there's deals to be had. I mean, the house that we bought right now, the last one we bought was for 147,000. A nice clean house in Lancaster. I'm really excited about that project. It's going to be a short term or midterm rental. If you guys don't know, that's getting really popular right now. Midterm rentals, where you're putting in traveling nurses, you're putting in people that are, just essentially they're displaced because of flood in their house or fire their property, things like that, right? And so these people need to stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and so yeah, we're seeing that property and the ARV on that property. Forgive me, my point with that was that it's almost 300, like 280, 285. So we got that property like 55% of ARV, and so that going back to those numbers, we're typically going to be in that 50 to 65% range right now, or kind of don't really want to touch it.
Exactly, right. If a lead comes in at 60%, 70% ARV or 80% ARV, like those are really, really slim deals that will not work for our company and our buy box. And really, it really won't work for many investors out there in the current market conditions that we're in. Like I see a lot of other investors that they're saying like we won't look at a deal unless it's 50% ARV or 60% ARV. And that's where the wholesalers are having kind of trouble with, getting these contracts locked up, and then also then adding an assignment fee on top of that in order for their business to make money as well, which ends up pushing the price of the deal a little bit more expensive or not worthwhile taking down.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that is a
But
valid point that you bring.
yeah, and I think the next step is what we do, the whole framework, so see, all this can happen within, it sounds complicated. We just explained it for like 10 minutes, but you could do all this in a matter of like 15, 20, 30 minutes where you're vetting a deal out and it can move very fast.
Hmm.
And then you have to determine, should I go see this property or can I go get someone to go look inside the property? That's another integral piece right now of finding deals, is how quickly can you get to the property, analyze the rehab, and get someone in there or that you trust to analyze the rehab for you. So that way now you have the opportunity plus more information about the rehab. And now if you're good at figuring out ARV, I mean, you can make a high quality offer right now. And so we're seeing a lot of that right now too, that we're just trying to speed that up and get somebody in the property if it's already hitting all these boxes. Because in some ways the stars have to align, but they do align if you take more action. So I
Exactly.
mean, that's just how it works.
And,
So
and
go ahead.
and you're talking about making these decisions in like next 20, 30 minutes, right? Like it's a whole framework that we go through, but it takes in order to get to that level, it takes consistency and takes repetition, and it takes analyzing hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of deals for you to be able to make a decision like you did on that Hollywood house, where you saw the zip code, you saw the price, and boom, you made the decision. You said someone go walk that property in the next hour or so. And that's something that is going to be pinnacle as well on going to go see these appointments and determining whether we should go look at this house. And having that Antelope Valley headquarters, having this Hollywood headquarters, it's going to put us in a better position to go drop what we're doing and go see a house because it looks like a great deal.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because um, we repeat a lot of stuff, my deal makers, but we do it because it works, and speed wins deals. Let me repeat that: speed wins deals. But how do you take purposeful, prompt action? Well, you're confident because of your numbers. And how do you get confident in numbers? Well, you analyze the deal, and you have a solid framework to analyze the deals consistently, or a process, and then you're just doing over and over again, and then you're just like, so much of what we do is nope, 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 nope. Oh, this looks interesting. Nope, nope, nope. You're just saying no, no to everything, and then something looks like it might warrant 5 more minutes of your time, and then before you know it, you're down that rabbit hole. I'm like, man, this fucking looks like a deal. Excuse my language, but this looks like a deal, and you can't stop thinking about it. There's so many times I can remember where I was just, man, I can't even think of anything else. We got to get back to that lead. I got to get back to that agent. I got to, send them my proof of funds so they can write up the offer. Like that's just, I think that's a deal. Like I got to get after it. So, yeah, I just encourage you guys to get your framework and your people in place to try to have a similar process, because it's just constant activity every day. These offers that just, I heard it put by my investor mentor, one of my first ones, just like this, all this money just crossing everyone. You just got to put yourself in the line of fire. You got to jump in the middle, and obviously that means taking action, but there's money everywhere, dude. You just got to put yourself in the crossfire.
Exactly, exactly. And if I give some feedback to that, since I'm in acquisition, it's like a bug that ends up biting you, where you're shifting through like 50 leads, and maybe like 47 of them are not worth your time to pursue them further because they're not qualified, or they don't meet your other, buy box criteria and stuff. But then you get that one lead where it's like, wait, we're not too far off on numbers here. Wait, this is in my backyard. Wait, it's starting to hit all these checklists. So now you start thinking creatively, and that's the only thing you could think of, and you're like, okay, I need to talk to this agent again. Like, how can I follow up? Or what negotiation strategy should I pursue? And you're just trying to figure out different ways because you spot a potential deal, and you want to see how you could end up closing it at the end of the day.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the tough part about acquisitions, there's a lot of tough parts about it, but the real tough part is those near misses. And I know you've experienced them, so have I, where you go through the process, you think you have one on the hook, you've made dozens and dozens of offers, and then finally you get one on the hook, and you're so close, and it falls apart the 5
Trying
yard
to reel
line.
it in.
Oh my God, it is so frustrating because you're 5 feet from gold, and you could taste it, see it, smell it, and it just falls apart because deals are sensitive. And that's why you have to be on your P's and Q's, or cross your T's, dot your I's, as they say, and just be there, and understand that you're in a high stakes negotiation with these deals, and every little move counts. So be very, very precise on how you make your moves, because these deals can result in huge profits or long-term wealth building, and so they're not going to just fall in your lap. And that's what I think is hard for people to stomach. It's like just tragic losses that you have because you're this close to like landing this deal that could make you X amount of dollars, that's 20,000, 200,000, whatever that number is, and then it falls apart, and then you're just bummed about it. And so you got to pick yourself back up. Like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, just didn't work out. I'm going
Exactly,
back.
right?
Yeah, I'm going back at it tomorrow.
It's like fishing, right? You kind of treat the MLS like the Pacific Ocean. You just throw your fish hook out in the ocean, you throw it in the MLS, and you feel like you got a nibble, and then you're starting to reel it in, but you got to remember that you got to carry out the deal all the way to the end, right? You got to bring that fish all the way back onto the boat or back to the pier, and it's not your fish until you end up closing it, right? So it's definitely something I encountered at the beginning of my real estate journey, where I would get some on the hook, and be excited about it, and like, oh, I'm about to close it, and try to carry it to the finish line. But at the end of the day, it just ends up falling off the hook, and it could take an emotional toll on some people, but you just kind of have to adopt that this is part of the game.
Yeah, we just I bring it up because I've just seen people give up. I've heard people, I've seen people give up because of that, and I just sad because I think perseverance is one of the most important traits as a real estate investor, because you're gonna have to persevere, whether that be to get deals, or to find the right contractors, or to manage contractors, or to find the funding for deals or to find a marketing strategy as a wholesaler that's going to work and be effective and get you right amount of leads. All that is going to take so much perseverance, and people just give up so quickly. It's like, okay, yeah, you made 20 something offers, cool, bro, but that's it. That's all you got. I mean, you're not willing to make 200. Well, good luck, man. So anyways, I think we want to talk about the numbers. We want to talk actually show like a live example of some deals that we would look at and how we're adjusting our numbers right now in the current market. Right now it's October 2022. Interest rates are on the rise. We're like at 8% mortgages right now for like retail clients, or 7-8%, and it's reducing demand significantly. So how are we looking at deals? How are we looking at numbers? Are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen. We're gonna end up showing you guys how we kind of analyze a deal with our flip deal calculator and kind of walk you through how we use it.
Yeah, so this flip calculator, don't get confused. It's not that we only flip, like we flip houses to make money, but the whole reason we want to make money is so we can hold property long term. So it's just like no different than you being an entrepreneur, having a highly paid job, whatever that may be, to make money. But then eventually, what do you do with that money? You invest it. So if it's a good flip, it's usually probably going to be a good rental. And we're gonna dive real deep. You're a little far off, though. I prefer you zoom in a little bit so that they can see the numbers just a little bit. But you guys don't have to use our calculator. I know a lot of people do use it, but you don't. But the reason we use this worst case, base case, best case scenario is because it enables you to just have a clear kind of vision of, if everything goes according to plan, how much will I make? Will I make my minimum profit desired for this deal? If I'm very reasonable, logical, as accurate as possible with what I think of my assumptions are, what I'm assuming I'm going to be able to resell the property, what I'm assuming that I'm going to be able to rehab the property, all that. If it all hits, is it going to hit our minimum profits? And then right immediately to your left, you see the worst case scenario. This is something that it needs to be even more conservative now. If prices go down 20% while you're holding a house in less than 6 months, I mean, annualized, that's a 40% drop in property values, which I mean, it's kind of unprecedented, but you never know. So that house we thought was going to be worth $250,000 after we rehabbed it, it might only be worth $200,000 once we actually put it on the market and sell it. That's an extreme case. So that's what we put it there. And then on the worst case scenario, are we able to stomach, or are we able to be okay with what the worst case scenario looks like? Or is that a kind of catastrophic? And are we going to, is that going to break the bank? And are we going to be out of business because we took that amount of loss? So we'll talk about those numbers second. And then the best case scenario, you just really have to hope, hope for the best. If the wind, picks up and hits our sails, and we got, we got that for us, and we get the buyer that really falls in love with the property, and or just some type of lucky break. Their interest rates begin to get reduced again, or go back down, and we get buyer demand increase, and still a low inventory amount. Shoot, we can get really lucky on this one. But what I love about this kind of framework is that what it enables me to look at it, it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna use this about this amount of cash. We're gonna make a minimum of this. If everything goes wrong, we'll stand to break even or lose this amount. Oh, if everything goes right, we can make how much? Oh, that much? Cool. Like that's a good risk to reward ratio. Write that down, you guys. Risk to reward ratio, because you're saying I'm taking a controlled amount of risk with a huge amount of upside on this particular deal, for example. Whereas other deals, you look at them and they're like, oh, well, if everything goes right, damn, my upside isn't really that much. But if everything goes wrong, I could actually lose like 50 grand, or I could lose like 75 grand. Then that's the deal that I don't recommend you do, because the risk to reward ratio is poor. It's not in your favor. So just try to find. So if I could just give you some real numbers, for me it would be like, okay, if everything goes right, it hits our minimum profit. We make $60,000 profit. If everything goes wrong and we have just a catastrophic event or something really, really, really off, we'll lose like $12,500. I'm cool with that. I can stomach that. And then if everything goes right, dude, we could make like $120,000, $110,000 profit. Well, great. Because also keep in mind, this is a flip calculator, but if the deal works out even better, it is more likely, especially because in California, it's harder to cash flow, that you could possibly keep that property and it will cash flow, and you will be able to do a burr on it to buy, rehab, rent, renovate, repeat strategy, which is, we've already done it 4 times or 5 times in California. It works, but you have to get a great deal for it to work. And if you have a skinny deal, you have to keep a lot of money in the property. And I don't suggest you do that unless it's a property that has a lot of upside potential with like maybe some appreciation. Like my Hollywood house, my mortgage payment's more than I would like. But dude, I captured almost $300,000 in equity in that property, and everybody got paid out. Like acquisitions, made a bunch of money. Like everybody got made a lot of money on that. My lenders, everybody killed it on that deal, and I still kept the property in Hollywood, and I have $300,000 almost in equity. So these are the type of deals, and that property could go up more because it's a great location. So don't discount appreciation plays. I don't bank on appreciation, but in certain markets, it is something where you need to pay attention to it, because if that property can go up X amount of dollars and it's not cash flowing that much, but it can go up a lot in value, well, shoot, it'll more than make up in the long run if you plan on holding it, and also that you're able to get some decent long-term financing on it, which is also being different, is being made even more difficult because of the interest rates going up. So
Exactly. And to reemphasize what you said, it's, well, we flipped in order to make money, right? But the reality is we want to hold these properties in order to actually build our net worth and build our assets. It's where the true wealth is in behind, holding these assets. And just like you said, in that Hollywood house, you ended up capturing $300,000 in equity. Now we ended up not making any profit in the short term, but we have a property in the long, you have a property in the long term that added to your net worth, and you end up having, keeping the property, and everybody on the team ended up getting fed, right? Everybody ended up getting paid out. So that's a win-win situation, that ideal situation that we want all our property to do. But the only way we got a property like that is by buying a deal with a big enough margin, and it wasn't a skinny deal, because skinny deals wouldn't allow us to do something like this.
Yeah, I will say this too. Other properties that have that, they're in nicer neighborhoods that maybe don't cash flow are a great rental opportunities right now, right? So you buy a property in a premier neighborhood that a lot of people want to be in, and instead of obviously flipping it, you keep it as rental. It doesn't cash flow that much, but this thing, you bought a great deal, and then later on you could refinance out of that higher interest rate. So those are other options that we're considering right now, because if I can get another great deal, say in Hollywood, I would probably buy it, because it has some other upside potential. Obviously, I'm not going to buy anything that's going to be negative in cash flow, but if I could capture a fair amount of equity, and it could have long-term potential to appreciate and be in a good rental market, because if you don't cash flow in the first year or two, it's okay for certain properties, because you can get the tax benefits from them. You can use them yourself, and some of the things that we do with the properties that we're not making a lot of money on, but like the Hawaii houses, we're not making a lot of cash flow from them, but we have a lot of equity, and then also that helps us with other stuff, like for example, when we go to do a bigger deal, like an 18 unit deal that we recently did. Well, they look at whoever's getting the loan, and they look at the net worth of the individual, and they see, that's a big factor. And so if you have more and more property to keep, to have equity, that also helps out with those situations. So, little things like that can really add up for you to start doing different type of deals that can, make you a lot more money. And that's why we're confident that we're going to come out of this recession, or whatever you want to call it, market correction, or pull back, on top, because we've also diversified, and not only stuck to just flipping houses. Like we're buying, multifamily. We're buying property in Hawaii that's going to be long-term hold that we've, already done a burr on, and we're going to be doing another one on the Wahoo property. So, just you got to find a way to be really good at what you do. But then once that's in place, you need to start adding other things onto your plate that could potentially diversify, and not be stuck to just being a one-trick pony, because that does concern me. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be a one-trick pony that all I can do is just flip houses. Like that's never been the goal. So anyway, let's talk about the calculator, how we're analyzing deals, or is there any questions? Because I want you to be paying attention, Edom, also to, I don't know if Abby's are a great virtual assistant checking in for questions.
Yeah,
Is there
we
any
have a
questions?
couple questions right here. The first question we had was from Stacy Ocampo. She said, how are you guys adjusting to the current market? And can you share your buy box in Antelope Valley so I can help you bring you guys deals? I
Yeah,
believe
what's up?
we
What's up?
answered the first part. What is our buy box in Antelope Valley? We're buying anything in the Antelope Valley up to 350,000. We do look at deals over that, depending if they're depending on what neighborhood they're in. We like the west side of Lancaster, west side of Antelope Valley a lot more better, because it's just better in appearance and quality of neighborhood there when compared to East Antelope Valley. So we're kind of thinking like East Antelope Valley in the future. We might just focus that on just flipping, and we might end up doing West Antelope Valley as our holding portfolio. So that the things that we're thinking of creatively.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we still consider stuff in the core Los Angeles as well, Stacy. So keep us in mind for things in there. Typically, we're buying houses in core Los Angeles. And when I say that, I mean just, South LA, Long Beach, certain parts of Northeast LA, the San Fernando Valley. We typically want to buy stuff under 500,000. So just, keep us in mind for single family. And then, I mean, we are open to small, medium, multi-family stuff, but it just stuff that's really low in rents, long-term tenants, under rent control. Not really too interested in that. It's just stuff that might have small multifamily in Palmdale, Lancaster would definitely be something that we'd be open to as well. So cool. Any other questions, or did we answer Stacy's questions?
Yeah, we answered Stacy's questions right there. Another question we have from Adriana says, how do you guys know that it doesn't need a major plumbing or electrical rehab, or it's just a light rehab?
When we walk the property. So you should have someone trusted with you, whether that be a home inspector or someone seasoned in rehabbing homes. But it's fairly easy to see, looking under the house, looking under sinks, looking outside the house, any piping and stuff like that. So you can see that, and then same thing with looking at the electrical outlets and allow that in the electrical panel, you're able to see if it's been upgraded. So simple stuff. If I don't believe you have to be an expert on rehab to be a great investor, because that's very important. But being an expert at acquisitions, or being an expert at getting affordable money to do the deals, is superior to me than rehabbing. But you should be very competent, because it allows you to have conversations with sellers, with agents, and not seem like you're a newbie, right? Like, okay, this person doesn't even know what a rehab is or what certain things are. Even if you could just tell someone like, hey, yeah, I see windows are $500 each, and then I got to pay someone $150, $200 to install. That's $700 a window. Like there's 20 windows here. That's whatever I'm doing. That's $14,000,
Hmm.
whatever that is, right? And people might think that's going to be like $5,000, and this could be almost triple the amount. So being able to talk numbers and specific things with people are important. But ultimately, like it just happens with practice, because you start to see the numbers kind of be very similar. Oh, it takes me this much to rehab a bathroom. It takes me this much to upgrade a kitchen. So you start to kind of get a idea of what that looks like.
Yeah, and to kind of add on to the question, what I kind of do in acquisitions, whenever I'm talking to agents and stuff, and they're talking about the property, we like to put a contingency in place of having our certified home inspector walk the property. And kind of how I position that in the agent, like, oh, hey, Mr. Agent, well, you're not an expert really in contracting and managing a project, and I'm not an expert in the manual labor stuff. And so why don't we just hire the actual expert and see if they could find things that we can't see, right? If they could uncover any rocks that we can't see. And especially because when you look at the pictures tell one thing, but in order to actually understand what the operations of the house, like what condition the roof is in, the plumbing, the electrical, and foundation, it's more than likely it requires an expert to tell us what that property is, what kind of stress that property is under. So never
Yeah.
ever shy away on getting a property
but
inspection
but
done.
will say this though. Let me expand on the framework of thinking when you're looking at deals. Try to be optimistic when you're analyzing the deal, so you're not too conservative, and then be much more realistic once you got the information from, say, for example, the people that walk the property for you, or you walk the property. So being too pessimistic at the beginning and too conservative will get you out of deals before you're even considered, and before you really have the whole picture. So I think that's another amateur mistake, that people just are, oh no, look at this, I got to be over here. Well, I'm not saying overpay, particularly right now. You got to be conservative, but I'm talking about just getting those at bats. and making an offer or talking to an agent and getting in the game and submitting an offer. A lot of times people are just way too like low, and then you get kind of looked at like you're just setting low ball offers, which it's common, but you don't want to be known as that investor across town that all you do is send these like crazy stupid low offers that don't even make sense. So I did want to kind of say one thing about the numbers and the cash. So can you bring the calculator back up real quick? I want to show everybody, which is I think another critical factor now, particularly with lenders, raising interest rates. And then also, okay, if you guys see this cash investment section, it's the middle of the page. So this number is extremely important number because it indicates to you how much cash you're going to need to buy that property, assuming that you can get financing for a certain amount. So for example, we typically have to put 20% down payment of the purchase price, and then make that 50% out of pocket rehab, would you? No, 50%. Yeah, there.
Oh, it's not letting me click on this. Let me click it on. It's weird.
No, you would be changing it on the orange.
Yeah.
So it's not letting me put 50.
Yeah. No. Oh, there it is. There we go.
Okay. Okay. So if you see that number, it just hear me out here, everybody. So you see cash investment. You put a 20% down payment, $54,000 to buy this house for 225. You're putting that, and then assuming that you're able to get a hard money loan that includes them funding partial part of the rehab for you, which is very, very common. And I mean, they do want to fund the rehab for you if they can, because they're also going to make a little bit of interest, which is fine. The reason it's important to use because you're going to use less capital, and you also get the skill of getting these draws with these lenders that enable for you eventually to scale up more and do more flips because you're using less cash because the lender is giving you more of the money that you need to execute the deal, if that makes sense. So if you see that number, it's $68,000. Now, this is a skinny deal. We would buy this deal 6 months ago. We would not buy that today. But the fact that I only have to use $68,000, and granted, I'm not using $68,000 up front. That's a total amount. And the reason that we came up with that number is because part is for down payment. So acquisitions, I would need to come up with $45,000 plus, the closing costs and some other, fees and whatnot, right? So that would be, let's say, $51,000. So now I have to use $51,000 of my money or somebody else's money, or me and a partner's money, to buy the house. And then I have to spend a certain amount of money before the lender, and then show the lender that I've fixed certain things, and then they'll give me that refund back. So say, for example, I go spend $25,000, fix up, do the demo work, do the trash out, redo the roof, order some supplies, fix the bathroom, and now I spent $25,000. Okay, now they're going to inspect that property. Sometimes it's virtual. They'll just come in and get a phone, and you'll just do literally a walkthrough. And sometimes that doesn't have to be you. Like, I'm in Mexico right now. I'm not doing construction draw walkthroughs. My project managers are doing that because they're the ones actually at the property. So they do that. They give it to the lender. The lender says, okay, looks good. We see that you put a new roof on. We see that you did the work that you said on all the sheets that you send out, and we see the payments that have been made. Here's the 25,000 right back. And so then that enables you to get that money right back into the rotation, and then use that another 25,000, get to that rehab. And then the point I'm going in this much detail is because you need to pay very close attention to your capital levels right now. And if you pay close attention to that and finding deals that take less capital for you to execute, but with higher upside potential, I think that's really the formula. And we're trying to explain that we're working on. We're focusing on areas that have proven to give us the best return on investments over the last couple of years. We are focusing on projects that are going to take a very controllable amount of time and not going to be a heavy rehab and take a lot of time. And then we're focusing on projects that have a good enough discount to offset the risk. And then potentially also in areas that we would need to be open to keeping as rentals in the event that, values do change a good amount during the time that we rehab the property, which, it could happen. And we're putting that in the worst case scenario here. So if you analyze that, we're going into detail here, how to just the framework, and then also how to think, and then how to, make the volume of offers to get the opportunities you need to get a good deal right now. So just customize that to how you're putting deals together. because every market is different. Analyze your, what, maybe you don't need to be that conservative. Maybe your area, things are just stabilizing and they're kind of staying the same. We're seeing areas like that too. It would be nice, right, if you're conservative and you get a good deal and then things don't fall apart and they just stabilize or go down only a little bit and then you win big. And also maybe again gives you the opportunity to potentially keep more property right now in this market and just later on refinance is what our target is. I mean, I would rather keep property right now than to flip property because I think that later on we could refinance and then we're really transitioning to a point where we want to keep it just as many as we're flipping.
Yeah, exactly. Want to keep as many as we're flipping. So yeah, now this is a great time for any other questions that you guys have for us to answer as we're close to wrapping up and bringing on our attendees as well. There's one question that says, if someone sends you a lead and you end up closing it, will you offer compensation for that lead? Yes, we will offer compensation. It's called a finder's fee or kind of marketing fee, right? So if you're actively marketing for that lead, for leads and stuff like that, but you end up sending us the lead, yeah, we'll pay you a marketing fee, or what's also synonymous called a finder's fee. I actually started the team by just being basically finding leads.
Yeah. Also, can you bring the real quickly, I wanted to show the private lender interest, because also if you don't have time to go get deals right now, it's a great time to deploy your capital. We're seeing some great opportunities that are coming up, and that's why we've been actively talking to lenders. But go ahead and go back up. Like, I want to put a live scenario deal that we'd buy, right? So that probably would have to be at 210,000. Okay. All right, cool. So we probably have to be closer to there, right? We're calculating it's going to take another month. You see 180 days. That's about 6 months instead of what we were putting about 5 months before, sometimes 4. And then we're getting a 42% return on investment up there. But typically we're looking for about 30 to 35 before we need at least 10% better deals at least. And if you go down, so you see under go back up on the total or the cash investment, we would typically raise about that. So say the $60,000, $64,000. So what's 15? So we typically are paying about 15 to 20% annualized return on investment on that money. So let's just say 20% of annualized of 60 something thousand dollars would be somewhere about $13,000, right? So this lender would invest with us like $65,000, and they would literally get paid $6,000-7,000 over that 5 to 6 months, just to invest passively. And it's connected to real estate. So we're seeing right now that we still have a lot of opportunities. So if you have any money sitting on the sideline, make sure that you talk to one of our team members, Mikey, because he can tell you all the opportunities. Not only that, because not only do you get this great return on investment, but then you also get to stay at any one of my properties that as long as it's available. The Maui estate. Remember, this is a 3,500 square foot huge property in South Maui. Considered like close to the Beverly Hills of Maui, 10 minutes away from some of the best beaches in the world. You get to stay at our beach house in Oahu on the west side. Very beautiful part, very nature. I mean, it's one of the coolest parts and it's coming up and coming on the west side of Oahu. Any of our Airbnbs, we're gonna have a couple Airbnbs at in Phoenix, and then a couple in Joshua Tree, and then my penthouse in Mexico. In addition to all that, you also get to attend some of our high-level meetings with team members, talk to the team members if you have questions about acquisitions or any of that. And then also you get access to our training, because we have ongoing training. We've paid for training. So make sure that, if you have any money sitting on the sideline, 50,000 is a minimum. But we're happy to work with everybody to grow their wealth. Right now is a critical time to work together and collaborate. So, but yeah, I just want to share that because the profitable deals enable everybody to get paid. And that's what I love about real estate investing, that it really is a win-win when you structure deals correctly and everybody can eat. At $43,000 profit with that kind of return on investment, everybody's eating well on that. Acquisitions, private lenders, hard money lenders, all that. But we got to work harder to get these deals. So everybody has to get paid. So, all right, cool. I think we still had a couple more questions, and we'll cover those, and then we'll get everybody on screen and then see if anybody has questions. And I don't really have a hard stop, so I can go as long as needed, guys. Let's rock.
Same as here. So yeah, I think it'll be a great time to start inviting some of the attendees One question that I did see right here, it says, first of all, thank you for doing these Zooms. Yeah, the Zooms are a way that we give back to the community. And it's an honor. It's a pleasure to always give you guys value and help collaborate. Her question is, do you think it's a good idea to become an agent? She just passed her, they just passed her test to save on the cost when investing, if investing is my long-term goal.
Yeah, I think that's a way of thinking that's common, but I have not seen that be effective because ultimately, I mean, they're two different things. Being a real estate agent, being an investor are kind of two different hats, and you're just trying to save money. No, like that's not gonna save money because typically, if you're gonna submit an offer and you want to represent yourself, you're gonna get less consideration than if you're letting the listing agent represent you. So I wouldn't go with that mindset. I would go with the mindset of, hey, I happen to have my real estate license. Well, look, having a real estate license can help you have access to MLS, but there's ways of getting access to MLS that don't require you getting a license. But that's another story. You're gonna use a license to like have access to MLS and look at deals. But when you're calling agents, don't go with that strategy of trying to write the offer yourself because look, when you have an investment deal as a listing agent, a deal that's a fixer up or a deal that it clearly has some spread and some potential profit on it, what are you thinking? You're thinking that you want to, double pop it, get the commission. This investor is going to make a lot of money, so maybe you want to get the listing back. So if you go in there with your, as an agent, oh yeah, I want to write my offer. You're already taking money out of that person's potential pocket and commission, and so it just doesn't really end up working. So default, let them write the offer. Secondly, is ask them if they have anybody that they recommend that you write the offer with, and lastly, if they're by the book they don't want any conflict of interest. They definitely just want to represent the seller. Then you write the offer. That's what I recommend. But don't look at it as you're saving money. Doesn't matter. You're not saving anything if you don't get the deal. So it's all about buying deals. It's not about, just having a license and trying to make offer a little bit more because you have a license. I've rarely seen that strategy work. Very rarely.
Exactly. Yeah. The one way I'll put it is this: instead of focusing on saving money, just focus on getting a bigger discount on the deal.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Who else have more questions? Like I said, I don't really have to go today.
Well, awesome. I think we'll get some of the attendees to join in on the panel with us.
Yeah, and then also, guys, so again, make sure that you attend the meetup or you invite people that are going to go. It's going to be about 300 people. We're going to have special guests. I don't want to say any names, but there's going to be some a big speaker that looks like he's come out. We're always looking to make it better. And so the quality of people there are just, they're just go-getters, deal makers. Everybody's there is out there trying to get better. So please promote it or come out and or share it with anybody you think would benefit from coming.
Exactly. November 17th from 5:30 p.m. all the way to 8:30 p.m. Typically it ends up going a little bit further because everybody likes networking and everything. So hope to see you guys there and connect with you guys. Is there any more questions or anyone else? No, I think we can wrap it up here.
Awesome. Well, hey, yeah, nobody has any more questions. Thank you guys for showing up.
I think Esteban has one. He said, so the 50K minimum is to join your team, or what exactly? There's some confusion on his part.
Oh, yeah. So what I meant the 50K minimum is if you're looking to invest into, invest passively with us into deals, you can start with minimum $50,000. And we typically pay 15 to 20% annualized return on investment, and then also provide access to our training, our team, all the transactions. And I say access, I just mean like if you have questions about how to rehab a bathroom effectively or whatever that is, you can talk to our acquisition or our rehab team. Those type of, because sometimes you just have those questions that are very specific to a part of real estate investing. And then if you're able to ask people that are actively doing it, it just speeds up your learning curve, right? You're able to, and sometimes we have referral contractors and things like that. So yeah, man, I think we're looking to raise some private capital. We see some opportunities, and also, we're definitely, looking to partner with more people and do more deals. When we have more capital, we're able to do more deals. So just win-win for everybody.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our webinar here. Thank you guys for joining and participating today. We appreciate all the questions you guys have. And if anyways, always welcome to reach out to us on Instagram if you have further questions as well.
All right, everybody. See you on the flip side. Let's go.